Charter California edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. Thank you so much for joining us. You want to stick around for this interview. We're going to be speaking with members of the Long Beach Police Department's Port Security Unit. We're going to go to the port. We're going to get in a boat. We're going to get in a helicopter. It's going to be quite informative and provide you with information that you need to know about how we are keeping our port safe throughout California. Today we begin with Chad Ellis. He is a sergeant with the Long Beach Police Department. We will be joining one of his colleague, Steve Smock, in a boat, on a helicopter, and when we come back later on in the program. But first, Chad, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Before we start to talk about the work of the Port Security Unit, could you give me a sense of how important the Long Beach Port, the LA Port, the Twin Ports are to this region?
The Port of Long Beach, Los Angeles is a vital economic engine, not only on a local and regional level, but on a national level as well. And we take our job of securing the port and the homeland security aspects of the port very seriously.
You know, I was reading, Sergeant, recently that the ports, the Twin Ports, provide almost 650,000 jobs from Ventura County to San Diego. That is a huge economic engine for this region. And part of the reason why I understand Long Beach is doing its darndest to make sure that these ports are safe, because a disruption in port traffic would be devastating to this community.
Absolutely. Business continuity is always one of the things that's first and foremost in our minds as we police the port, making sure that economic engine in the port has a safe and secure environment in which to flourish.
Now, I understand that in Los Angeles, they have a separate port police department for the Los Angeles port. It is different in Long Beach. Explain the policing structure here.
Yes, sir. We are a unit of the Long Beach Police Department, and we are dedicated to the Port of Long Beach. We work down there 24/7. And provide police service specifically for the port and the other waterways of the city of Long Beach on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis.
So give me a sense of what you and your colleagues are doing to keep the Port of Long Beach safe. There are so many moving parts, and we're going to be going to the port, so you'll see some of those moving parts. But this is not a small test. This is not your traditional, Bellflower Avenue where you're just driving up and down the street.
Correct. On a daily basis, we try to maintain situational awareness of both activity from a law enforcement perspective in the port as well as the region. We have officers that are patrolling the port on boats as well as on the land in black and white vehicles, and also on quads around the rail areas.
What's a quad?
A four-wheel motorcycle.
Got it.
We use those in and around the railroad tracks. There's over 100 miles of port track laid down throughout the port complex on our side, and the officers use the quads to access a lot of the smaller, tighter areas in and around the railroads that you couldn't otherwise access with a vehicle.
Sir, you've heard, we've heard that in the wake of 9/11, we really wanted to focus tremendously on keeping every access point safe. Of course, 9/11 was focused on the air, the skies, but there have been so many rumors about attempts to attack America through the ports. Whether they're legitimate, I don't know. I know you can't say much, but give us a sense of how 9/11 has changed the work that you and your colleagues at ports throughout America. Give us a sense of those changes.
Well, one of the things that we hear our Chief McDonald, of the Long Beach Police Department, reminds us on an ongoing basis is we need to be right 100% of the time when it comes to terrorism. They only need to get it right once. So that's a tall order, and we have some highly trained, very experienced officers that are working in the port. I'm very proud of the officers that I work with and get to supervise on a daily basis. And we take that job of securing the port very seriously.
What's different about your unit, for the Long Beach Police Department on the streets, they're generally just dealing with themselves, their own unit. I mean, maybe the FBI may get called in for something, but at the port, I presume you're working with federal officials on a daily basis.
Yes, we work with law enforcement agencies on local, state, and federal level throughout the port. some of our partners, and it is a partnership in the port.
Right.
We really do work together with all the different agencies. Los Angeles Port Police that you mentioned,
Right.
The LA Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles Police Department. The U.S. Coast Guard has a very strong role in the ports.
One would presume.
We work with them very closely on a daily basis.
Well, how does that work then? I mean, are you policing the cargoes and the Coast Guard's policing the water? I'm trying to get a sense of...
All the different agencies down there have their own roles. For policing of the on-terminal, the cargoes, doing the inspections, that falls under the role of the Customs and Border Protection.
See, yep.
They have officers out on the terminals every day. You'll see them around. They wear blue suits.
Mm-hmm.
They're charged with making sure that cargo that comes and goes from the ports is safe to enter the U.S., and they do an excellent job.
I want to talk about the cargo, if I may, because we know that the Port of Los Angeles had a banner year last year, 2.11 million containers. A close second was Long Beach.
Yes, sir.
And Long Beach took in 1.69 million containers. That's a lot of containers. That's a lot of cargo to make sure is safe. How do you do that?
Through the use of a lot of different tools. It boils down to personnel, training, technology.
Tell me about technology, because I have to think technology is a significant driver in the 21st century.
It plays a very important role down there through the use of detection equipment and cameras. There's a lot of infrastructure that's been put in place since September 11th. And without going into all the details,
right, I know you can't say much.
Citizens should be very proud of the work that's going on in the port as far as from a security aspect and from the coordination and the partnerships that are working together down there on a federal, state, local level. What
I'm wondering too is, again, if you're on the streets of Long Beach, you are dealing with people who live in this country. We know the laws of this country. When you're dealing with ports, you're dealing with cargo coming from all over the world, with different laws, different customs, different approaches. So how do you meet that challenge?
Through inspections, through, as I pointed out, through technology that's in use down there.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, China, a huge importer into America. A huge amount of traffic comes from China. Suffice it to say, their approach to law is different than ours.
Yeah.
And so are those challenges ones that really have to be met head on, or are they playing by the rules given that we're dealing with international ports?
I think they're playing by the rules for the most part. Mm-hmm. I'm not really qualified to speak to a lot of those type of international type issues, but from what we see on a daily basis, things in the port and the incoming cargo from foreign countries, the CBP does a great job of monitoring that and keeping it in control.
Before you take me to the ports, I want to talk to you about how the citizenry can help. So many people in Long Beach work for the ports, and we are thankful for that, and really the surrounding regions.
Yeah.
What can someone do if they have a sense that something's amiss? Is there a special line that they can call? Is there a hotline, a tip line, an email? What can they do?
If it's in the Port of Long Beach, we like to ask people just to use the regular 911 system to call in and report those things that appear to be out of place, the things that we've learned since 9/11 to kind of keep our eyes open for as citizens. If they see those types of things, people, items, just things that don't look right, that make that make them uncomfortable, it's worth calling in. Let the police, let the appropriate agencies go out and take a look and address it if necessary.
Chad Ellis, I want to thank you so much for joining us on California Edition. When we come back, Chad is taking us to the Long Beach port. We're going to be speaking with one of his colleagues, Steve Smock. Smock, is that right?
Smock.
Smock. He is also a sergeant at the Long Beach Police Department's Port Security Unit. We're going to be going on a boat in the port. We're going to be going in a helicopter and look at a rescue from the Long Beach port. My name is Brad Palmer. You're watching California Edition. We'll be right back from the Long Beach port.
When compared to the largest ports around the world, where do the twin ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach rank? First, third, sixth, or ninth? The twin ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach rank as the 6th largest port in the world.
Welcome back. It's Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz. Yes, we are at the Port of Long Beach, between the Los Angeles port and the Long Beach port. Last year, close to 4 million containers came through those two ports. Long Beach, second largest port in the country, about 1.69 million containers last year. And we have some of the containers behind us, but before we talk to the containers, we'll talk to Steve Smock. He is a sergeant with Long Beach Police Department's Port Security Unit. Sergeant, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
What was surprising to me is I didn't realize the containers are exposed. They're really on the boat.
Definitely, yeah. They're exposed to the elements. If they were shipping something that needed to be protected, they do have ships that the containers would be underneath the platform that would be protected.
So every single day, I understand about 12, 15 ships come in and out of the Port of Long Beach. Explain the role of the Long Beach Police Department in those ships coming in and out.
Well, it's a lot of containers that are coming in and out. Like we talked about, it's about $1 billion a day industry that these ports represent. So we try to do what we can to protect that cargo coming in and out. We also
and what you're doing is you're literally escorting the ships, not necessarily every ship, but some of the ships. So explain that.
Right, we escort as many of the ships that we can. It's on a random basis. We get, like you said, about a dozen ships that come in a day, and we try to escort as many of those ships that we can to come into the port and out of the port. But also there's a lot of ships that Customs Border Protection will flag as a higher interest ship, and so we'll definitely put more resources on a ship of that nature.
And let us not forget that the Twin Ports is where many cruise ships leave from. I have been on many of those cruise ships, and you know, some of us can get a little nervous that cruise ships can be a source of interest for the bad guys, the terrorists. So you are taking special care of the cruise ships. Explain.
Yeah, definitely. We also will escort every cruise ship out of the harbor and also as it comes in. We also not only just escort them in and out on the water, but we'll also put officers on the bridge of the cruise ship. So as a ship is exiting the port, we'll have police officers in the bridge, and then as it leaves the port, we'll exit the ship onto the pilot boat, and then the ship will be on its way from there.
And I want to be clear, you said every cargo ship, every cruise ship, virtually every cruise ship does receive an escort. So to me, that makes me feel safe. I mean, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm glad that makes you feel safe. We escort also, our port partners will help in the escort. LA Port Police will help escort, the Coast Guard will escort, the LA County Sheriffs will come and help escort.
Sir, we know that in the wake of 9/11, I spoke with Mr. Ellis, Sergeant Ellis, about this in our last segment, there's been fear that ports could be a source of interest to the bad guys, to the terrorists. And since Long Beach and Los Angeles are two of the largest ports in the world, the two largest, are you taking extra precautions?
Definitely. That's why the police department is here on the water in the port, is to take those precautions to prevent, try to thwart any terrorist activity. We have come across people that expressed have interest in doing harm to the port. Luckily, no terrorist attacks have come about in the port, so we have a perfect record. But in all honesty, we're here on the water for the terrorist type environment.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to be with Sergeant Smock in front of the legendary, the historic Queen Mary. We'll be right back. So we're back behind me, the historic, the legendary Queen Mary. Sergeant, tell us a bit about it for those that don't know about this legendary ship.
Well, the Queen Mary was brought to Long Beach in 1967. It was built as a trans-ocean liner, but then, as you know, during World War II, they used it as a troop movement. and then it's obviously its final resting place here in 1967.
But no doubt it is still seen as one of the grand old ladies, and it is a recreational spot now. And we know that terrorists have been talking about hitting recreational spots. So I have to think that your duties as port security are different for the Queen Mary, a cruise ship, for example, versus escorting cargo tankers in.
Definitely. The thing with the cruise ship and the Queen Mary is the passenger. There's live passengers on board, where on the cargo container ship, it's materials. So on the cruise ship and on the Queen Mary, there's passengers and obviously those are more important in protecting. So we use a lot of our resources to make sure that those passengers are as safe as possible.
Let me ask you about this area right here. If you look behind, you see that the Queen Mary is surrounded by lots of very large rocks. I don't know what you call this exactly, but it does seem as if a boat could come up and someone could jump out and then cause some havoc. But I'm sure you're on top of that. You can make sure that won't happen. So explain why this area is safe.
That's definitely right. That is one of the scenarios that we talk about quite a bit. We train for, we prepare for as best as we can. This is a break wall.
Break wall, that's the word, a break wall.
Yeah, and the break wall is obviously probably one of the best protection you can have to a small craft coming up alongside a ship. The Queen Mary really is not in any deep water. It's basically sitting in the mud, so it can't really be sunk. But the small craft that you're talking about, those are going to be launched from the marinas, and that's kind of where we're here now, is in the Long Beach recreational marinas. So we do spend a lot of time looking for small crafts that look out of place, and we keep on top of that, because that is one of the major threats here in the port.
Now, in addition to policing the Queen Mary, the cruise ships, the cargo containers, the reality is within 24 hours of any cargo arriving, that cargo gets off the ship and gets put onto a train, a truck, and immediately goes on roads in Long Beach and beyond. Explain the role of the Long Beach Police Department in policing the cargo once they get off the ship.
Yeah, that's a good point. Once it gets off the ship, it doesn't. The protection of that cargo doesn't stop there. It really continues on all the way until its final destination. And of course, Long Beach, we protect it as it's leaving the city. There's railroads that go into all of the container terminals, and we have ATVs that we patrol the railroad tracks on. We patrol obviously in our patrol cars, and we have a great working relationship with those containers companies. We use their expertise and their knowledge to help protect the containers that come in and out of their business.
Okay, we're not done. When we come back, Sergeant Smock is going to take me to a helipad, a helicopter pad within the Long Beach port, and we're going to talk about how his unit not only protects the ports through vehicles, through boats, but also through helicopters. My name is Brad Palmas. We'll be right back on Charter California Edition.
Los Angeles and Long Beach ports rank first and second in terms of cargo container traffic in the nation. What port ranks third? New Orleans, New York, New Jersey, Savannah, or Seattle? The New York, New Jersey port ranks third in terms of cargo container traffic in the United States. Savannah ranks fourth.
Welcome back to Charter California Edition. I'm still here with Steve Smock. He is with the Long Beach Police Department, the Port Security Unit. We are on top of a tall building inside a Long Beach Police Department helicopter. What are we doing here, Sergeant Smock?
Well, we're here today to test our capabilities of actually loading a couple divers in the police helicopter, taking off, doing search patterns over the waterways of Long Beach, finding our target, having the divers then actually jump out of the helicopter and recover what's in the water.
So literally, this is a rescue mission. We are about to see a mock rescue mission.
That's correct. It's a rescue mission. It could be rescuing a person, a piece of evidence, something that it's time sensitive that if we don't get it now, it could sink.
Yeah, so give us some examples of when this unit would be deployed, whether it's this specific unit or one like it.
Well, we got this idea from LA County Sheriff, San Bernardino Sheriff. They use this type of scenario quite a bit with their rivers and lakes, and seeing how they do it and their capabilities, we thought that it would be good if we got up to speed on doing this type of mission, and so we want to make sure that we're ready in case this type of scenario happens.
So if this happens, how many officers will jump into this helicopter and get ready to engage in the rescue of a person or evidence? What's the team?
Well, we have a 10-man dive team. Unfortunately, we can't get all 10 guys in here.
But literally, in a normal situation, you would have a full 10 people.
Yes, the police department has 10 divers. The fire guys have divers, and we come together quite often and train and do missions together. But in the scenario that we're rehearsing today, it would be 2 of the police divers getting in the helicopter and then deploying from the helicopter.
How does someone train to be a helicopter pilot that would participate in this type of event, and or the diver, him or herself? I have to think it takes special training both as a pilot and as a diver.
Yeah, it really does, and we don't mix the two. At least our department doesn't mix the two now. The pilots are obviously very specialized in their training. Our divers are specialized in what they do, and we come together and use both of the training to do what we have to do.
But do you need special training, I would think, as a pilot? Because if you're engaged in a rescue, I don't know, maybe I'm off base, but you need to be adept at keeping the helicopter sturdy and safe and stable. It just doesn't seem like your typical, I'm going to take off, fly somewhere and land.
Yeah, we just have complete faith in our helicopter pilots. I mean, we've done this multiple times now, and they're very good at it, and we just have all the confidence in the world that they're going to bring us close to the water at a real nice slow speed, and we'll have a graceful exit out of the helicopter.
And although that you're with the Long Beach Police Department, I understand that your services may be called upon by other agencies. It could be in Orange County, LA County, it could be anywhere.
It really could. We have a lot of equipment comes from the federal grant system. So really anywhere in the nation we could take our equipment and deploy wherever we're needed.
And it's when I first realized I was going to be speaking with you, I thought to myself, wouldn't the Coast Guard be involved in this? But then you reminded me that most often, because you're closest, you're the first responder. Explain that.
Well, we are the first responder here in the Port of Long Beach, in the city of Long Beach. Of course, we have a lot of support from the Coast Guard, but we are on the water. When a call goes out over the marine broadcast radio, we have our boats are deployed, our divers are on the boats, and we're usually the first ones on scene.
Okay, so we're about to see 2 pilots, 2 divers engage in a mock rescue. I want to thank you so much for joining us and for explaining to us how this is done, why this is done, and we could really get a clear sight of a rescue in action. We've been speaking with Steve Smock. He is with the Long Beach Police Department. When we come back, you're going to see an actual mock rescue in action. I'm Brad Palmer. We'll be right back.
Since 1921, the Long Beach Lions Club have been crusading to help the vision health of every person by providing care and supplies to eye clinics all over Long Beach, including the American Red Cross in times of crisis. Become a Long Beach Lion and make a difference every day in our community. For more information on how you can help, contact the Long Beach Lions Club today.
Okay, I am going to send the divers in. Back it up. Everyone's up.
My name is Brad Palmer, and thank you so much for watching Charter California Edition.